last year, it finally hit me what they were for. And what it was, when you know the Shemitah cycle, it's more than just a 7-year time period that could start randomly. No, it is the Shemitah cycle. And I realized that the 2014, 2015 four blood moons was exactly a Shemitah cycle before the year of Jubilee. And the year of Jubilee was in 1973. And according to Leviticus 25, you can only proclaim the year of Jubilee on Yom Kippur.
Now, I wanted to stop for a second because, see, you have taken all of the Jubilees back to the beginning of time.
Yes.
So, and that's also in your book, which is like this an incredible reference. I've never seen anything like this. So it's like other people, like you've said, other people could say, oh, we're in a Jubilee, which is 49 years, but like 50, right?
Yeah, right.
And you explain all of that. And then the Shemitah is the 7 years.
Yes.
But it's like you did it throughout history, so you can't just say, oh, well, this is a 7-year period. I mean, I learned that from you in your book. I mean, I didn't know this before. It's very specific timetables and which predict things, which, I mean,
Yes.
prophesy things.
Yes.
I was blown away because, and then they coincide with God's biblical feasts. And then, so I'd like you to go back though. I know you're talking about the 2014-15, but how that also predicted prophesied the other wars that you were talking about, you know, with those other blood moons.
Well, here's what's amazing. Again, I knew they were prophesying or predicting war. So what happens? The Yom Kippur War happened at the very day of the beginning of the 50-year Jubilee cycle. And so then here, this October 7th, we had the Iron Swords War with Hamas attacking Israel. That was the last day of that 50-year Jubilee cycle. And so here, wow, in 1967, there were 4 blood moons, and 68, that prophesied Yom Kippur War at the beginning of the 50-year Jubilee cycle. And then the 2014-2015 blood moons was prophesying the Iron Swords War, which is exactly another 7 years later, a Shemitah cycle. So here the Jubilee year was bracketed with a war at the first day and a war at the last day of that season.
Right, which you said now, Jubilee is at 49 years or 50?
Well, the Jubilee year is, the cycle is 49 years, and then the beginning of the next 49-year cycle is both the 50th year and the first year of the next 49-year cycle. So Jubilees are 50 years, but they're all in 7 times 7, 49 blocks. And then they repeat, the 49 blocks repeat, and it so happens the 50th year is the first year of the next Jubilee cycle. Just like Sunday can be the first day of the week, but it's also the 8th day.
Okay, so I'd like you to talk about the patterns with, I mean, the American Revolution War.
Oh, yeah.
The Civil War.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, talk about that. That was,
Okay.
blew me away.
Well, it blew me away. Here, as I'm looking, there are 12,000 solar eclipses over the last 5,000 years. But since America has become a nation in 1776, and as a matter of fact, did you know the 4th of July, when we became a nation that year, was the 17th of Tammuz, the very day they worshiped the golden calf?
Golden calf of Wall Street.
A lot of people aren't aware of that.
Right, and Tammuz is which month of the Hebraic calendar?
That's the 4th. You have Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz. Yes, it's right. It's a month after Shavuot or Pentecost. And what was amazing to me, only 8 total solar eclipses have happened over the United States since we became a nation in 1776. Only 8 out of that 12,000. Well, the total solar eclipses, when they did occur in the 1700s, the late 1700s, happened during the Revolutionary War. The 3 solar eclipses that happened in the 1800s happened during the Civil War. And then in the 1900s, they happened during the Vietnam War. And so it's just war, war, war. Now, here's what's amazing, Jane. Now, according to Judaism, the sun represents the Gentile nations because it's so much bigger than Israel, which is represented by the moon. And so they've said when there's a total solar eclipse, it represents judgment coming on the Gentiles. Total lunar eclipse is judgment coming upon Israel. Now, of those only 8 total solar eclipses over the United States, only one. Out of all these 12,000 eclipses, only one has covered only the United States. In other words, it didn't go through Canada, Mexico, and that was the Great American Eclipse of 7 years ago, okay, in 2017. And that's the one that went from Oregon down through the Carolinas. Okay, so that's the only total solar eclipse. And now, exactly 7 years later, we have this total solar eclipse going from Mexico up to the United States and into Canada. Well, it intersects at a place in southern Illinois known as Little Egypt. Okay? Are you familiar with that term, Little Egypt, in that area?
Only recently.
Okay. Well, what's amazing, here this eclipse is intersecting, and NASA says basically very rarely do solar eclipses intersect over a country. They're usually going all different directions. And here this one intersects exactly in a place of Little Egypt, and the total solar eclipse takes place the very same day the 3 days of darkness took place and the original plagues at the original Exodus.
Ooh.
Very, very same day. And around southern Illinois there, they promote themselves as Little Egypt. They have cities called Goshen, Karnak, Thebes, Cairo. Oh, they're all around there. And, I just felt like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then I find out there's this university in that area, and their mascot is a pyramid and the falcon god, Horus. They're just totally on Egypt. And so when I saw that this was going to intersect there, I knew this was God's bullseye. Of course, you got the Madrid fault there. Who knows if anything's going to happen?
No, I understand. I was reading about eclipses and how they can affect and cause an earthquake. So I know a lot of people are speculating can something happen on that fault line.
Yeah, well, the amazing thing is there is a week after the attack on Israel, October 7th to like October 15th or 14th, was another solar eclipse, but it was an annular, but it started at the same point in Oregon as the one 7 years ago. But this leg, so to speak, goes down through southern Texas. So if your listeners would think of a capital letter A with the point being in Oregon and
we're going to show it. Yep.
Okay, and one leg going all the way through to Carolina, the other leg going down through Texas. And then this one that's coming on April 8th, it's going to be known as the Great American Eclipse again. It is like the bar of the A that goes from Mexico across the United States up into Canada in northeast area. Well, the place where this intersects in southern Texas is known as the Texas Triangle. Now that goes from Dallas to San Antonio to Houston and back to Dallas, if you imagine a triangle there. And that is the #1 place in the United States.
#1 place for human trafficking.
Well, it's interesting to me because you're talking about, people being, well, you all know what we're talking about. And, but that this eclipse in 2024, does it fall on a biblical feast?
Yes, that's what's amazing. Well, it's Nisan 1. Now, Nisan 1 is huge. That is the very beginning of the religious calendar. It is the very day God's glory fell on Moses' tabernacle, and the glory fell. It's the inauguration day of Moses' tabernacle. It's also the same day, though, that Nadab and Abihu died for offering strange incense. So Nisan 1 has a huge biblical meaning. It's the beginning. And just like it's the beginning of the inauguration of the tabernacle, I believe it's going to be the beginning of judgment upon America.
It's going to be the beginning of glory also.
The month of Nisan,
it's going to be glory and judgment.
That is what, March, April?
Yes, roughly. And it belongs to the tribe of Judah. Judah always goes first. And we know Messiah is from the tribe of Judah. And every tribe, there's 12 tribes, and there's 12 months on the calendar. And so Nisan went first month, and Judah went first. So this month definitely is assigned to the Messiah who's taken charge.
Wow.
Okay, now talking about when I read in your book about the marching orders, and I found that very interesting. I'm like, okay, yeah, can you explain that?
Yes, yeah. What's amazing, again, I love the Bible. It's just totally in my heart, and I just devour it. And what I realized, again, I went to the biblical dates and the coming eclipses. See, this one here that's coming is like a starting gun that got shot, boom, and the race is on. Well, what happens, because each tribe is assigned a month, God said after he assigned it, and this is in Numbers 1 and Numbers 10, he said, it's time to go to war. And so they had to disassemble the tent, Moses' tabernacle, and go to war to gain the promised land.